Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. I'm back as I promised. Okay, as you can see, let me see, hold on. I've made this, it's nice and shiny because I put the ease release on it. It's released, and I'm getting ready to mix the poly 7420 liquid urethane rubber. Now, the first thing I need to do, hopefully I have this back in frame, is I need to zero out my cup, which I think I already did already, but we're going to do it on anyway. All right, so that's at 0, and that's 41 grams, so we're going to zero that out. Perfect. All right. Now, I guess it doesn't matter which one's which. I'm going to see exactly how many grams it takes to get to about here, and we'll see. And I got to mix this up real good. The easy part, believe it or not, is getting it to that point and then knowing the exact grams and then doubling it. All right, so we're going to go to 220. All right, that's 220. 220 grams of part B. All right, now I just have to take that 220, it's 221, but I can ignore that 1 gram. It's just over that 220. It's back and forth, 220, see? All right, now I think I'm in frame here so you can see that digital readout says 220. Yeah, there you go. It's fluctuating 220, 221, so we're right on the money. Now what I'm going to do is I need to get that number to double that, so it's 440. So we're going to take part B and get that number to 440 instead of worrying about that line. Some more grams. 4, 3. Almost there. One more drop. 440, right on the money, baby. All right, now I'm gonna mix this really good. Scrape the sides down. Pour a little on this side. Pour a little on that side. Mix this really well. It has about a half-hour working time. This urethane before it starts to kick. And once it starts to kick, you're screwed. So you got about a half hour, and that's plenty of time. And I'm going to have to sit here and literally constantly brush into the detail, so until it kind of sets. And then I'll put the two halves together and use the rest of this rubber to and thicken it with the poly fiber. That's another process. And yes, sir. And then we'll be on the money. We'll have a master copy. Just making sure you scrape the sides real good. And the bottom of the cup for sure. Fingers in the way. The two parts aren't mixed good. and just a little bit sitting on the bottom, it won't cure right. So you definitely got to make sure you really mix this well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this in both halves of the mask, of the mold, I mean. That's it. Capture the detail. All right. Now, I'm over on this end doing this one real quick, and I'll be over there because I have to readjust. What the hell? Sorry for not talking. As you can see, I'm working. We're making sure we have the rubber up top on the seam, because when I go to close this together, I don't want any leakage. All right. Now the next thing I got to do here is prop this up a little bit. Like that. This block of wood here. That would be a help. Oh, great. Oh well. I don't need any more of that for right now. This is just to capture the detail. Just like when you're doing the stone, you want to make sure that you're grabbing all the detail. Now I'm going to keep working this stuff until it starts thickening enough to where I can Still very runny. I'm hoping this starts to kick soon, because this is getting boring. This is now what I'm doing here is you know what, I'll move the camera over so you can actually see what I'm doing a little better. A little better. So there's a big puddle here, and it's deep inside the nose, so I'm constantly just kind of sloshing it around and putting it up onto the walls to capture that detail, especially in the ear sockets. You definitely want your ears well rubberized. And underneath the chin, make sure there's no air, no bubbles. This thing's perfect because normally, if there was any air, in other words, if this stone was absorbing any of this rubber, I would know it, and I'll tell you why I would know it, because there'd be air bubbles coming through, and there's none, absolutely no air bubbles at all. So I definitely did a good job with the yes, I did. I think what I'm going to do with the remainder of this is pour it back into the cup and add some polycarb to it, and then throw it back in so it's thicker, just a little bit, just to make sure it sticks up onto the walls. Oh yeah. Let me do that real quick. I'll grab my little thing, I'll throw some polyfiber into that mix. I spilled the remainder out. That's not good, but I'll live. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to pour the remainder of this stuff into my okay, now that's not bad. We got a nice thick, and I'll do the same thing with the other side. Oh yeah. Little puddles forming there, which I can put out. Capture the detail first, then a little of this poly fiber. I'll just use the used bottle first. I'm going to have a nice puddle of polyurethane rubber on my deck because I spilled the cup. All right. Let me back up a little bit so you can see what this stuff is. I'll back the camera up. Really? Let me see where we're at here. That's a little better. It's polyfiber 2. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to add this right to the cup of, whatever you do, don't breathe this stuff in. Look at that stuff. It's like, what that is polyurethane. Now I'm going to mix that and then put it back in here. No, I thought I wasn't putting enough in there and I put too much in. I got a Play-Doh here, it ain't no good. Okay. I'm gonna have to get started with this. Either way. Hey, Don. Hey, how we doing today? Good. Almost done, huh? You got your roof, looks really nice. The roof looks great. Nah. Never think that way. Always positive. Okay, that is getting sticky. So, with that being said, I'm going to put these two together real quick. And I'm going to mix up the batch of the thick stuff. Alright, as you can see, I got the two halves. And I'm going to put the other half right on top of here now. Gotta get a hold of it. There it is. Okay. Now I need my strap. That out of the way. I need my Of course. That's all right. Didn't hurt nothing. Stuff's very liquidy in there anyway, so. And the next part. Up in the air a little further. Don't want it to come apart. Stay together there. closer than that. There we go. Nice tight seal. Now, the next part, I have to bring you over to the other area where I work. Now this part is where I'm going to use the bigger bucket. As you can see, I'm going to be working over here anyway, so I'll move over here. I've got the mold tight together. It's not leaking. All right, I got a nice even coat of rubber all over the place. I think I have to let this set up for a few minutes. Yeah, definitely have to let this set for a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is add that puddle down around the eyes and in the nose. Not so much the nose, I want to go to the eyes more. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Yep, and I'll keep spreading that around. There's a big puddle of rubber in the nose. And you just want to keep piling it into other areas. Oh yeah. Now the rest will be thicker, and I'll mix it up into a bigger bowl. And that'll be the finished product, but I have to let this dry for at least, I'm gonna say, an hour. Yeah, about an hour. Just want to hit these ears real good with the puddles of stuff that's in here. And the seam. Now this will only be a real thin, this will only be a very, very, very thin coat of rubber on the inside of this mask. When it cures, then I'm going to mix that thicker batch so I can pull it up on the walls and make it nice and thick. And oh yeah. Okay, so with that being said, okay, we got ourselves a rubber. Now the next step, after about an hour, what I have to do is use just pretty much, I'm going to put some gloves on and do it with my hand because it'll be fairly thick. And I want to make sure that I can put it in. Oh, you know what? You're not even in frame. I turned it. Yeah, so let's take a peek inside. Let me lower this. Sorry for the banging around, guys, but I don't have one of those auto. Alright, so there you go. You can see inside there's a thin coat of rubber throughout the whole thing, and it's sealed together. That's why I put the rubber on the seam all the way around. So this way, when I go to put the rest in there, it won't leak out. It's not going to be thin enough to leak out, so I'm not too worried about that. But the thing is, because it's a two-part mold, I want to make sure that what was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. Now I know I got to get something to eat. All right, so yeah. I have to make sure that there is no leakage. That's the bottom line. No leakage in that seam. And this will cure up enough to where I can put the other stuff in there in about an hour. And then I will put a thick coat in there. And I don't want to make it too thick though. I just learned my lesson with that last little bit that I had left over. But that's okay. We have enough to put a nice thick mask on in here. And I'm going to make it so it's thick enough to where it'll grab to the walls, but it won't sag. I won't have to worry about it sagging. All right, you guys have a great afternoon. See you in the next part that I do on this.